In Year 6, Mr. Cooper here finally buckled under the pressure from Mr. Smith and Miss O'Sullivan to do a YouTube video, so here we go, I'm going for it. I've decided to set you some maths homework through MyMaths that's due in on Thursday. It's 3 pieces. As you can see here, we've got the volume of cubes and cuboids, we've got area of triangles. Both of these two you should be pretty good at doing because we've done them in class, especially the volume of cubes and cuboids because we did that last week, so they are really revision for you. And then area of parallelograms, which we haven't done yet, so I'm going to teach you how to do those now. I would start with the volume of cubes and cuboids because you'll be pretty good at doing this, and the questions that you'll get will start off like this, and you should be quite used to seeing these questions. You've got centimetre cube blocks and you need to simply put what the volume is. Now you know all you need to do therefore is just count them. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So here the volume is 8 centimetres cubed, and here we've got 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is 5 centimetres cubed. What you have to be careful for is that there aren't any around the back that are hidden, because otherwise obviously you will get the question wrong if you don't account for those, especially if you've got 2 layers. Okay, then it moves into some slightly harder questions, which you can see we've got one here. Now we know the volume of a shape is length times by width times by the height, and this part here is the area, and then obviously if we times the area by the height we end up getting the volume. And we can see that if I draw this here, which is like this, and I put my dotted line down there. If I do my area, which is in blue, which is this part, there's my area, and then my height is here. Okay, so that's the volume of a cube or cuboid, and that's our formula. Now to work out this question that we've got here, we're obviously going to do 3 times by 4, or 3 times by 4 is 12, so that's nice and easy. And then we need to times it by 3.5, so we're going to do 12 times by 3, which is 36, and then 12 times by a half, which we're really good at doing from arithmetic, is 6. 36 add 6 is 42 centimetres cubed. Remember, it's cubed, not squared, because we're doing centimetres. Times by centimetres, times by centimetres, and centimetres times together 3 times is centimetres cubed. Okay, and then it moves into some slightly harder questions which you've got here. So a refrigerator has a volume 508,200 centimetres cubed. Again, we know volume is length times by width times by the height. Okay, and what we need to do is work out what this part is, which we will call our width in this case. So they've said the width is d, which is fine. So length times by d times by height. Now they've given us the volume and they've told us it's this here, 508,200 centimetres cubed. So I'm going to do, the first thing is I obviously need to do the inverse. So I'm going to do 508,200, and I'm going to divide that by our height, which in this case here is 165. Now off the top of my head, I think that gives me 3,080 centimetres cubed. Okay, and then obviously I'm going to, in fact, sorry, centimetres squared that would be, and then I'm going to do 3,080 centimetres squared divided by our 55, which is this part, which will then leave me with d. Divide that by 55, so off the top of my head then that gives me 56 centimetres. So there we go. So here d is 56, which looks about right because we've got 55 here, 56 there, then 165. It's all pretty much proportionate, so we can sense check our answer. Okay, so that's a recap on volume. And you will be pretty good at doing those. So I'm expecting some 100%, please. Right, then you've got one on area of triangles. Well, again, we've done this before. You just need to remember to half it. Please don't forget that. We know the volume, the area of a triangle is length times by width, and then we divide that by 2. So here I'm going to do my 7 times by 6. 7 times by 6 is 42, and then 42 divided by 2 is 21 centimetres squared. So that's our area of that triangle. Here we've got our right angle triangle. Or we know that here is a right angle, so they are perpendicular. Okay, so we're going to do 7 times by 10 divided by 2, which is 35 centimetres squared. So nice and easy. Okay, there's sort of your warm-up questions. So that'll be question 1. Moving on to question 2 of the MyMaths, you get some slightly harder questions which look a bit like this, which is, again, don't worry about it, straightforward. Now, I've taught you to remember to split the shape into different shapes because they've made a compound which is two simple shapes put together. So I've got a rectangle there and I've got a triangle on top, and I need to really bear in mind that I've got this 8 here because that's my total length all the way up and down. Okay, so I need to remember that I've got that. So I can work out the area of this shape here, the rectangle, by doing 6 times by 7. So my rectangle area is 6 times by 7, which is 42, and that's meters squared. Then I need to work out this triangle. Now, I know that this triangle along here is the same as this length along here, so that must be 7. Okay, so my triangle, which I'm going to draw there, that's 7. Okay, I've got total length all the way up of 8. And I know that this side of my shape here, so the green rectangle, this length, which I'm going to magpie from there and put it here, is 6. So if I know this part here is 6 and my total is 8, well, I can then work out this missing part here, which must be 2, because 2 add 6 is 8, the total. So I know now my measurements of my triangle are 7 all the way along and 2 up. So I need to do 7 times by 2. Remember to divide it by 2, which is 7 meters squared. So add them together to get the area of my compound shape is 49 meters squared. Okay, so you remember, take what you know about the whole shape, highlight, do whatever you need to do, split it up, work out what sides you've got, and then you can go from there to work it out and put it all together at the end to get you the total area of your compound shape. Okay, so that's a quick recap on triangles, finding the area of them, including compound shapes as well, so a rectangle and a square, whatever put together, and then I also gave you a recap on volume as well. Okay, now something we haven't done is finding the area of a parallelogram. So this is a parallelogram, and we did do earlier on in the year, we looked at the properties of these. So we know these two sides are parallel, funnily enough, because it's a parallelogram. We know those two sides are parallel. I know that that length's the same as that length, and I know that these two sides are the same length as well. Okay, so you can start to look at the properties. And we don't have perpendicular bisectors, 90 degrees, because they don't make right angles. They are not perpendicular. They do not make 90 degrees, but that's just a couple of your properties, okay? But we're going to learn now how to find the area of a parallelogram. Well, here I've got a parallelogram, okay, there it is. I've split it nicely because if we look, what I can actually do is I can take this part off of the parallelogram, which is here. I can take it off and I can stick it over here. Well, then that just becomes a rectangle, doesn't it? And we know to find the area of a rectangle, we do length times by width, okay? Now, it's slightly different for a parallelogram. We don't call it length times by width because obviously it wouldn't be practical for me in a test situation, really, when I want to be quick and doing this quickly, wouldn't be practical for me to physically take that bit off, draw it over here, put it there, match it on. That wouldn't be sensible for me to do. So I just need to know the formula. But as long as I understand why I'm doing it, well, the reason I can apply this formula is because I can attach that bit there, which then makes a rectangle. So the formula is slightly different, okay? It's length times by width for a rectangle, but a parallelogram ends up becoming length times by height. Now you will see here that I have got this part, which I can move again, and I've also got there my right angle, okay? And we know a right angle is perpendicular. So the area of a parallelogram is its length, which obviously we know is along here. So that is my length of the parallelogram. And then I times it by its height. Now its height is called the perpendicular height. Okay? Perpendicular height. And I must remember it's my perpendicular height because it's not, if I was to put a measurement of say 5 centimeters there, 15 centimeters there, 6 centimeters there, and 9 centimeters here. I'm not going to do 9 times 15 because I don't want the slopey side. I want the perpendicular side, which must meet at this right angle, which is here. Okay, I must do it at the right angle. So I'm going to do my length, which is 9, times by my perpendicular height, which in this case is 6, because if I move this, they are perpendicular. I do 9 times by 6. Okay, I don't need to half it, it's not a triangle, it's a parallelogram. which is similar to a rectangle. So I do 9 times by 6, which will then give me my 54 centimetres squared in this case to give me my area of the parallelogram. Okay, appreciate I've done this quite quickly, but as long as you understand you're taking this part here, you're going to stick it on the end there, you've then made a rectangle. I could do 9 times by its perpendicular height, this bit going all the way up and down, that gives me my area. Okay, so MyMaths then goes on to ask you some questions like this. Now you need to remember you're doing the area of a parallelogram is length times by perpendicular height. Well, my perpendicular height is here because that's where my right angle is, so I'm doing my 3, and my length is here, which is 9, so I'm going to do 3 times by 9, which is 27 centimetres squared. I'm not using this 6, this is the slopey side. We don't need to use the slopey side, it's not involved, but they will deliberately put in some extra measurements to try and trick you. Okay, but you just need to know 9 times by 3, length times by perpendicular height. Okay, and then they sort of stick in some harder questions on question 2, which is where you go backwards, and I'll be expecting most of you lot to be able to answer these. We know the area of a parallelogram we've just learned is length times by perpendicular height. Well, in this question, they've told you the area is 36, so we need to work out what its height is. They've told you the length is 9, so 36 is equal to 9 times by its perpendicular height. We don't know what that is. Well, let's do the inverse of timesing by 9. So we do 36 divided by 9, which gives us h. So h is 4. Okay, so its height is perpendicular height is 4 centimetres squared, and we know that's our perpendicular height because it's there at a right angle. Okay, so 9 times by 4 does give us 36, so we know we've got that one correct. Okay. Moving on, I think that's pretty much it. It's all I wanted to say. So if you've got any questions, you can obviously contact me specifically through my Twitter, or you can contact the Year 6 one, which is fine. I'm more than happy to help. You can leave me happy, medium or sad face when you do the home learning. You can also comment under this video as well. Remember to stay well, please. Keep safe, keep washing your hands, and I will do another video over the next few days as well when you get your next set of MyMaths. But have a go. I hope this video has been helpful, and I will see you all soon, hopefully. Okay,